Shalom, shalom to the family of the Most High Yah. Well, welcome, family. I'm glad to see your faces this morning. Bantu Lisa, my brother Nelson, Yvonne Burgess, Hadassah Binyah, Marcella Mitchell, Jezreel Talks. Welcome, welcome, family. We've got a fantastic program for you guys this morning. Give us the advice to advance. The advice to advance. And joining me this morning is Journey with Us. Journey with Us. How are you with me?
Yes, we're here.
Yes,
Um,
shalom.
Shalom. Thanks for rolling with the Brew Crew this morning. And we're going to get started with just those who are not familiar with your program, may not have seen it before. We'd like to get a recap on your story. What were your motivations to make the move, and how did you make this successful move? Because I understand that you've been there for 4 years now.
Yes. Yeah, we've been here for 4 years. We left in 2020. And first of all, just thank you for having us on your platform. Um, and we definitely appreciate your diligence to the Most High, and you just been obedient to his word. So we definitely appreciate this opportunity.
It's
Um,
mutual. It's mutual, my brother and my sister. It's mutual.
yes, hallelujah. But yeah, we are Journey with Us. We came to Africa in August 2020. So, and what really called us is the Most High. I know that sounds very dramatic, but it's like,
Generic.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but that's really what called us here is the Most High. Because at the time that we decided to move to Africa, we were really on our last. So we made a decision that we were going to do it, and we made up our mind, and that's what it was.
Yeah, where were you working at that time? You were like super busy during that time.
Yeah. So for me, I was working at two warehouses. It was like a seasonal position, because before I believe I lost my job, but I found two seasonal positions, and it was around Christmas time, Thanksgiving and Christmas time. So I know they hire a lot. So I was working, or I would say I was sacrificing for for this position that we're in now.
Right.
So that's very important for the people that's listening. You always have to have a sacrifice that you really like. The things that you want, you have to sacrifice.
Hmm.
So the position that I was working was, my first job was 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I will go to another job at 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I
Wow.
would do that,
Hmm.
5 days a week. So now looking back, it's like, wow, you really have to let the Most High know, like, I really want this, and this is what I'm gonna do to get it. So I'll definitely say you have to have a mindset of this is what you really, really want.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, you have to make some sacrifices to escape velocity, to get escape velocity from Babylon. Um,
Yeah.
Yes,
but what were besides the sacrificing? You mentioned that, so I assume that's talking about putting money aside. That
yes. So yeah, pretty much everything that we had, we tried to save. And at the same time, my wife had uh, our business going, our marketing agency. So everything that we was doing, we was trying to save as much as we can. Um, Although we had bills and rent and car payments and stuff like that, we still made a way to save.
hmm
Yeah. And it really started from a spiritual sense. I know back in 2015. So we're both young. My husband's 30, I'm 28. But back in 2015, the Most High told me, this was when my father was still alive. My father passed away in 2017. He told me, you're not going to be in America. You're not going to raise your children there. And so I just started when I came into the truth, I started seeing all these things, and it would just it would just irritate me to a point where I would just pray and call out to the Most High, like, what is happening here? That's how I came into the truth, and He revealed it, through Deuteronomy 28. And then shortly after that, He revealed going to Africa. But back then, early 20s, I'm like, Africa, how am I going to make it there? This is back when I thought I was going to go into healthcare. And so as I came into the truth, I put it on the back burner, and I was like, well, Most High, if you want us there, you're going to have to make a way somehow. But until then, I guess I'm going to just work these jobs. And then eventually I started staying home and homeschooling while my husband was at work. And then December 2019?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of pressure in the atmosphere, as you guys remember. I think that it was like right before the pandemic. And the Most High was like, now's the time. He would see in dreams and visions. My husband, he actually worked with a guy who had a dream. Like, he came and told him at the job that he had a dream of him going to Africa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some serious confirmation.
Yeah, the confirmation was so serious. It was like, he had it in a way that it was crystal clear, like beyond any shadow of a doubt.
Exactly.
And so we also had to get our third son's passport because he was just born in 2018. So we had to get his passport, but this was during the pandemic. So we had to wait from February to July.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to leave in May, and we thought we were going to go to Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up going to Tanzania.
Mm-hmm. Now, besides the sacrifice, the financial sacrifice that you made, what are some of the practical steps that made your move successful?
This is I'll definitely say this is the most important thing to have, and that's just your mind made up. If you already, like, spiritually and mentally in Africa, and you tell yourself that you're not coming back to, where you came from, America, Europe, UK, wherever, it's definitely a mindset thing first. So we made a decision that we're never going back, and that's the most important decision and the most important advice that I can give, because a lot of people say they want to, but do they really want to?
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
True. Because a double-minded man is what? Unstable in all of his ways. You have to be single-minded, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to get myself single-minded on, moving out of Babylon and getting back to the continent. So that's what we're looking for, some help from you guys today, some advice so we can make it and not have to be boomerang children. Amen.
Yes. You have it even a little bit easier now. When we left, Tanzania was the only country that was open. But now, that the world is open and you have these different options, it's good to look at first the visa-free countries in Africa for Americans, because that's going to give you an easier transition, because you're not going to have to pay visa fees when you enter. So you're going to save a lot that way by having a plan that's not just for when you hop on the plane and leave, but have a long-term plan of like 5-10 years. Like, are you going to be investing in real estate? Are you going to be bringing business over? Are you going to teach English in the school system? Like, what is your life going to look like day to day when you land in Africa?
Mm-hmm. And really, what are you already doing right now? Like, what is your skills and talents? What kind of jobs did you have over the years where you can monetize that and really start like a business or anything that's going to financially have you stable?
Okay, so like you mentioned, the countries that were visa free, is there a list available, or is there something where we can access that information?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. I can name a few off the top of my head. Botswana, South Africa, Mauritius, Namibia used to be, they're not anymore. Senegal and West Africa, they're visa free for Americans.
Okay, good to know. So that list is available. Is it online, or how did you pull that up?
Yes, let me put the blog in the chat. It's a blog from discoverafrica.com. Seashells is another one. Here's the blog. Let me put it. Oh, well, let me put it in the. Where can I put it?
I have to connect to YouTube.
Will it connect on? No, maybe so.
Yeah, and another thing with the visa-free countries, you have to look at which countries have certain type of residencies for you that's long-term also. So there's countries out there will do 6 months at a time. There's countries out there that would do 10 years at a time. So you really have to be um, understanding of which country is the best for like residency and things of that nature.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Because you have some like Botswana and Ghana, they do 5-year visas.
Yeah.
And so, and then you have to also look at where are African Americans or the diaspora going and they're able to build and stay there long term. Ghana is one of those hotspots, even though people are in the air a lot about Ghana. But for a fact, if you're researching on YouTube, that there are hundreds of families that have built houses, built businesses in Ghana for decades. Ethiopia is the same way. South Africa as well.
Mhm. Now, as far as living, residential, moving, buying, rental, what's some of your best advice for someone who's looking to buy or to rent a property on the continent?
That's a good question. So if they want to buy, so you have different ways of buying in Africa. You have freehold land, which means you just own it outright. But then there's also the leasehold land where it may be a 99-year lease. Tanzania was like that. I believe Ghana is also like that. So you still own the land, but you have to renew it with the tribe, or your children would have to after that 99-year mark. And they usually do renew it that way. And then also, don't be in a rush to buy land. Like just don't rush. Don't rush at all. Just stay in the country for a year, 6 to 9 months before you even make the decision to buy land, because you really don't know what you're walking into. And when you're in a new place and you don't know what you're walking into, it's easier to be scammed like that, because there are a lot of land scams that happen in Africa because there's not as many systems.
Yeah.
So just for a year, actually walk out on the land, actually see what it's like. If you want to buy a property like a house, actually go through the house, see what it's like, see if you can find any reputable people to tell you good things about the company, that are people that are on the ground and you can actually contact them and talk to them. Do your due diligence, like immensely and meticulously. That's the best way to not have to go back to America, honestly.
Yeah, and go through the seasons too, because it's rainy season and dry season.
True.
So you might come in the dry season, buy land, and then when the rainy season comes, your whole land is flooded.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Get a boat.
you have to be careful with rainy season and dry season also.
For sure.
Amen. Amen. Now, sustainability. We've all heard the stories about people who go there and end up moving back to America or back to Europe or from wherever they came from. And the biggest issue that I've heard was financial sustainability. They didn't have the income in order to sustain the lifestyle long term. So, what are some of the things that we can do?
Yeah, I would say definitely start something online before you leave. Or if you're retired, that works out well. There are numerous, dozens and dozens of retired diasporans and Israelites who have moved from America that make it work out because they have that passive income, their Social Security or their retirement coming in. Because most of these African countries, they have really, really nice retirement visas. And so if you're in that position, you're at a benefit right now. But if you're not at retirement age, get some sort of passive income from America while it's still there. So if that's, you, instead of selling your house, you rent it out, or maybe you get a tenant in the house instead of selling it, and then you have a project manager. Or if it's doing something online, you could teach English online. You can start an online business. You can That's usually like the most common things people do that stay long term. We
Mhm.
actually know of somebody who found, well, they were looking for a teaching job in Rwanda, but they got promoted to being the principal of the school. And so teaching is an incredible field. Marketing, communications, customer service is a huge field in Africa. I think one big mistake people make when they're doing a business in Africa, from both a finance and then a logistical standpoint, is that they use all of their savings and throw it to a business in Africa, be it Ghana, Tanzania, wherever it is. But they don't realize that just because you don't see a market, for example, soul food or something like that, us coming from the States, we're like, yes, let's open a soul food restaurant. Our cousins, they're going to love it. They're going to look at you like, I don't know what this is. They're going to be so confused. They're going to be nice. They're going to smile about it,
Yeah.
but they're probably not going to buy the soul food. I mean, African people don't even eat like half the amount of sugar we eat as Americans. Like, we like cookies and cupcakes and sweet potato pies. They're like, what?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
try to do things like that without realizing that it's not just the gap in the market. You have to understand if there's a demand in that market, and the only way to find that out is if you're on the ground. So typically, you want to also be wise with your finances. Don't throw 100% at a business. Any investment you do in Africa, anything, even if it's renting a house, buying a house, use like half of your money. Don't just throw everything, because you have to have something that you still have.
Right, right. That's great advice. Great advice. Now, when you're talking about starting a business, we know that people can go, like, if they're an educator, they can kind of make a horizontal move and go over to Africa and be an educator. But if they're
Mhm.
in a business that doesn't translate well to the continent, are there business opportunities that you can get involved in that can generate the income before you arrive?
Could you kind of give us an example what you're talking about?
Say, like, my business, I'm in finance, and all the financial rules for lending to businesses or lending for a home are completely different on the continent than they are here. My business wouldn't go travel well to the continent. So if I wanted to say I'm going to take the revenue I generate from my business here and invest it in something in Africa, a business in Africa, so that I can start generating an income that will sustain me while I'm on the continent. Did I make that clear?
Yeah, that's a good question. If I were you, if there's any way to keep it open in America, I would keep it open. And then what I would do, if you're going to South Africa, Botswana, wherever it is, I would go on Eventbrite and I would look up finance networking events, because then you're going to get to talk to different business owners in the industry who can tell you, hey, you can merge it this way, or hey, maybe change this. It could be that you open a finance consulting firm consulting, some of the larger businesses, because that's typically, if we're coming when we're coming from America, the playing field is typically you're going to be working with larger companies. You're going to probably be working with the bank. You might be contracting some of your services to them, or even contracting your services to a college. You could speak at colleges about finance. So there's a lot of opportunity on the ground, but networking with the local Africans is going to be the first thing you want to do.
Hmm.
Excellent, excellent. Now, as far as um, which countries are most business friendly? I mean, if you're coming over there to start a business, are there certain countries that are easier to start a business in, and some that are maybe not so much?
Absolutely. Yeah. South Africa is number one. They're number one for business, just from the standpoint that you're not going to have as much language obstacles. It's more built up. You have more systems in place. There's more of a market for business versus, for example, if you're like Malawi or Tanzania, a lot of things in countries like Malawi or Tanzania or Uganda or some of these countries you may not hear about as much. The issue is they're maybe 10 to 15 years behind the way that we're used to operating a business. And so you come in and tell them, hey, I want to do this finance or this marketing thing. And then the actual institutions in these places, they're confused. and they don't even know how to properly register it, or they're like, I don't think we have a need for that. So that could be an issue. The second best country for business would be Ghana. Third would be Senegal. Senegal is fantastic. I actually saw a video from a sister who got her African ancestry test, found out her ancestors were from Gabon. This is another one like Malawi. Gabon, she went there, she put the business up, she put the money into it, she was running it. The issue she ran into, even having her citizenship in Gabon, the issue was the bureaucracy. Africa has this thing with bureaucracy that is basically just you get put through a lot of hoops and hassles just so you can pay people more money. And so that's not the ideal way to run a business or to just live your life in general. And so she closed the shop in Gabon and instead went to Senegal. And so she's been in Senegal ever since. She actually travels back and forth from Washington, D.C. and Senegal to run the business and to visit her family. And so definitely look up a list of the least corrupt African countries. That's going to put you on and show you, okay, at least if the business is in one of the most least corrupt countries, you're not going to have the bureaucracy difficulties. Because it's strange when, like, we had some friends when we were in Tanzania. This is outside Dar es Salaam, but we had some friends, they opened a restaurant, and like these tax people would come to their door and they would just watch them and have them pay taxes every single day just because they were, yeah. So the bureaucracy is the biggest hindrance to the African diaspora. So look up the least corrupt African countries, and then it's going to be easier to transition.
So, okay, so check out the least corrupt. Look at the ones that offer the citizenship.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the top 2 points I'm sticking with right now. Now, as far as people on the continent, like advisors, consultants, that will help you to kind of integrate into whatever country that you're going into, help you to, survive, sustain, make connections. Is there anything like that going on the continent? We have a lot of networking and consultants and everything over here. I mean, you want it, you push a button, it's at your door. It's on the phone, it's on the internet.
For sure. To an extent, the convenience that we get in America, you won't find as much in Africa. There are consultants like online, maybe in specific industries like finance or property management, things like that. But it's still to an extent. What's the best way to say it? I think you would describe it better.
I would say you could teach them a little bit more, because you're coming from they would say like a first world country.
Yeah, they don't have necessarily the type of packaging structure that we are used to in America. And so you may be looking for a consultant in travel, or a consultant in your real estate, or a consultant in moving, but the parts will not be packaged the way we're used to in America. For example, you may want to have somebody offer you a taxi service and then get your hotel and then get your property going and do all these things. But in Africa, usually all those things are separate, depending on the country you go to. Unless, I think the only 2 exceptions to this would be South Africa and Ghana, where you see so many diaspora have gone and they have certain systems in place.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea. A concierge type service that combine a lot of these things and bundle it together.
Yes.
I hate shopping. I hate going all over the place to find different, services and products. I like somebody to say, "Here, we got a bundle for you. This fits what you need."
Exactly.
Man. So, what do you and your family? What do you do to survive financially because you say you're young, so I know you're not on a retirement visa.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're digital nomads. So we own a marketing agency that serves clients in North America, the Middle East, and a few in Africa as well.
Wow, that's good. That's good. All right,
Yeah,
I'm going to open the floor up to those who are in the chat. If you have questions for Journey with Us, If you would like to put that in the chat, we'll post it up and see if they can give us a good answer. But spiritually, how do you stay spiritually connected on the continent? There are no assemblies there. Do you guys find other Israelites on the continent to connect with?
Somewhat.
Yeah, I would say it's you really have to be in tune, especially these last days. I know the Most High when we first came out, and I know I said this at the beginning. Um, you have to do what you're already doing. Um, so the Most High, with us before coming to Africa, we were always on our own. We had our children. We was handling our business on our own. Um,
A few brothers and sisters,
yeah,
but it
not
wasn't like
like
a big church or anything.
yeah. So coming to Africa, it was a lot of ah, I don't know how to put it. I don't want to say distractions, but the Most High led us to try to be more along with our family so we can just hear a little bit better. So
Mhm.
it just depends on the person because I know everybody's different, but I know for me and my household, the Most High is always trying to separate us so we can handle what we have to handle and we can, listen clearly. So it really just depends on the person. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
Well, I know the Most High will provide for those who have that need, but
yeah,
I was just curious because I find a lot of people here in Babylon, they are always saying, "There's no assemblies near me. We can't find fellowship. We're used to the church
Right.
type environment," and that's an issue for a lot of people. Me, I'm much like you. I can do this thing alone, all by myself, and run just as well.
mm,
Some people need that social connection. That's all.
yeah.
That's why I brought that up. But I just was curious: were there any groups forming on the continent?
Yeah, but there are plenty of people. If you go to a Pacific country, you can look up groups. There are like-minded people around in each country.
Okay, we got a question from Yvonne Burgess. Journey with us. How does one find the least corrupt country? Is there a list?
Yes, there is a list. Let me put it in the chat. They update it, I think, like every year, so you will see it change if you're watching it year to year. But this is the most updated one. Actually, let's go to Business Insider Africa. They published this February 2024.
You want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read some of the countries. So Seychelles stands as the least corrupt country on the continent. It's like a little island off the coast of Southeast Africa. Cabo Verde is an island off the coast of West Africa. Botswana is near South Africa. Rwanda is in East Africa. Mauritius is another island off the coast. Namibia is in South Africa. Sao Tome and Principe, I believe, is in West Africa. It's another island. Benin, oh, I didn't even realize Benin was on the list. Benin recently announced citizenship for the African diaspora, so that's good to know.
Wow.
Ghana and Senegal.
All right, wonderful. There's another question. Is there government legislation in place to support and to protect people from the diaspora integrating into these African countries vis-a-vis property ownership, business ownership, citizenship, etc.?
Depending on the country you go to, again, you want to revert back to the list of the least corrupt countries. That's where you're going to find the legislation that actually sticks. But Ghana is great for this. They actually have they call it the Ghana Investment Center. And one of the branches of the Ghana Investment Center is actually the Diaspora Affairs. This is something that I have only seen with Ghana. So that puts them like at the top of the list. South Africa as well. They're great for being least corrupt and having those citizenship things in place and these different pathways. Let's see. Oh, Sierra Leone. I have ancestry from Sierra Leone. If you can prove that you're from Sierra Leone through an African ancestry test, they grant you automatic citizenship. You just go over there on a tour, and then they give you your citizenship and you can be a dual citizen. Benin just announced that they are also going to be doing the citizenship soon. So a lot of us may have blood that's from Benin, being that most of us are from West Africa. That could be a good place to look into. Property, again, that's tricky. You want just stick to the least corrupt African countries. On top of that, have a lawyer, have different people checking things out.
And that's some like what my wife just said. Get your African ancestry, because that can be a step up for a lot of people.
Yeah, many diaspora have gotten citizenship in various West African countries for the most part. And so that eliminates so many issues that you will run into. If you have citizenship in an African country where you're just coming over there, you can easily buy land. You can easily, the only thing that would be difficult would be getting used to the culture.
And the languages spoke, because there's so many. I've been looking at Portuguese, Swahili, and I'm like, wow, I'm not at that age where I can easily pick up another language. So it would be conducive, easier for me to get over to at least a country that has English as a second or third language.
For sure.
All right, we got another question from Lynn Bernard. How can someone take their money out of the U.S.? I'm very interested in this, because I've been trying to figure out how to move my money out of these U.S. banks, which I know are going to fail.
Right.
And move it into an African country, put your money where your heart is, you know?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, the best route. So there's actually a couple routes you can take. Now, if you're someone that wants to go to South Africa, we didn't know this when we left, but now we know. We're like, oh yeah, our people need to know about this. Citibank and Discover Bank actually have their banks in South Africa. And so if there were any banks that are probably going to be working when the US crashes, when the banks start to collapse, that those two could be ones that would make it easy. Now, if you are already in Africa, you're going to have your work or residence permit. Even if you're retired, it could be a retirement permit. Then you take that permit and you can go to the local bank, and they'll just open an account for you. And then you can either transfer money through a transfer system like TransferWise or Western Union and transfer your money like that. Or if you're running a business, and you would just put that money in that African account. But as long as you have a permit, it's pretty simple to open the business. Some of them even allow you to open it online.
That's what I was about to ask. You don't have to physically be present on the continent to do that?
So yes, unless you find a way to get a permit before going to the continent.
Is that even doable?
Depending on the country, it can be. South Africa, yes.
Okay. Right.
Ghana, it could be, because when we thought we were going to Ghana, like, we have tax registration numbers in Ghana and we've never been there yet.
All right, we've got another question from Zoomer Doomer. How much do you base the location off of BRICS alignment? I'm noticing a lot of European-backed loans flooding into Africa. Would you advise people to take caution before going to those countries?
That's a good question. BRICS, we're very neutral on BRICS. We're not gung-ho, yay, BRICS, and then we're not, oh my gosh, I hate BRICS. But it doesn't really factor in much. Now, we prefer to be in countries that are not like top of the mind in Africa, just because we think that yields some kind of safety. But, if you want to go to South Africa, it's not an issue. South Africa is like the main BRICS country. I think Ethiopia also wants to join. But Africa is so vast that you can literally find these safe havens, these nooks and crannies, if you just be patient and do the due diligence. Now, the European-backed loans, these have been going on, since the start of Europeans going to Africa. It started out as like rice and beans and guns. And so the loans would be actual products. So that's not anything new, European-backed loans. They'll be doing that until, judgment comes. So that's that.
All right. Got another question here about from But With Brains, visa fees. Now, I assume she's talking about to the various countries, but they're going to vary, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. They absolutely do vary. So again, with the visa-free countries, that means as an American, you can get there on arrival and not have to pay any money. So this is helpful if you are a large family versus if you go somewhere like Tanzania or Gabon or some of these other countries, they may want you to pay $100 per person in your family just to arrive in the country. So that would quickly add up. And then check out digital nomad visas because these are some of the easiest visas to get next to retirement visas. Some of them are literally free, some are under $100, and they last for a year or more and they're renewable. Aside from that, next you have volunteer visas. Volunteer visas are a good way too, but typically on a volunteer visa, you have to be a single or a married person. And that's it. Like, don't try to bring an entire family on a volunteer visa. They're going to look at that like, okay, that's weird. Then you also have, yeah. And then you also have the student visas. Now, these are good as well to start out with because you can actually put your kids in school on these visas. And so you can go study at a university if you want to just take some classes. And schooling here is actually very, very affordable and it's more rigorous than America, which was one of the biggest shocks that we learned putting our children in school. And so you can do student visas as well. It really just depends on your situation. Now, if you're a teacher, you may want to do a work permit, or if you're in information technology, you may want to try and do a work permit at one of the companies or consulting.
All right, excellent, excellent. Question: where are the groups of diaspora that were forming communities and centers to aid new people coming to the continent avoid being taken advantage of? How can one contact them?
That's a good question. The main one I think about is Ghana, because there's such a large group of diaspora. Africa is like mind-blowingly enormous, and though it seems like we're all in one space, we're really not. Like Tanzania alone is just about the size of America, contrary to what they tell you and what the maps look like. And so the diaspora is actually very far spread out with the exception of Ghana and South Africa. Those two countries have like certain systems in place. I know in Ghana, Guba diaspora is one. If you just search on YouTube, Ghana diaspora communities, you'll see some people pop up. South Africa, the only one that I really know about is Ron Dalton and what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's the only one I've heard out of South Africa that has like any type of concierge service to avoid being taken advantage of. But understand that the culture in Africa, you do have to haggle and negotiate. That's just how the culture is. So you always want to go 50% lower than what they're telling you.
Just as a rule of thumb.
Yes, coming off the plane.
It's 10. No, it's 5.
Exactly.
I hear you. Our people are scrupulous business people. That's to say the truth. I also heard of Exodus House. Do you know anything about that young lady? Just I know she's been on and off here and there, talking about a house that she built in, I think it somewhere in the west, on the west coast of Africa. I can't remember if it was Ghana or.
I think she's in Tanzania. If we're talking about the same lady, the Jamaican lady, I think she's Jamaican.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes. She's in Tanzania. She has like a Airbnb house in Dar es Salaam, and as far as I know, it's still open. And she has actually expanded to having a restaurant in the Masaki area in Tanzania. So she's still doing well. She's a single sister with her daughter.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
4 years.
Yeah, I communicated with her months ago, but she was involved in was it CMOS or something? She was promoting that as a business opportunity to generate income in order to make the move, and I was like, yeah, I'm really past that. That's really not where my head is at. When you've been dealing with high finance and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then to sell a product, it was just not floating my boat.
Right.
But I'm still looking for other opportunities, and that's why you're here. Now we've got another question. Are there any other banks that you know of that are here in the U.S. And on the continent besides the two you mentioned? You
Yeah,
mentioned
so
Citibank
far,
and Discover so far.
yeah, so far those are the only ones we know. I mean, for example, in Tanzania, the banking system is like entirely opposite of America. I think as Americans, we assume that everywhere is similar to America and has certain agencies, but it's just not. They just have like a totally different system.
What's the best bank that we use?
I would say what on the African side or
No, just what we use.
SoFi. SoFi is the best bank that you can use. SoFi International
Well, so
because you get free ATM fees.
okay, SoFi is available here though. We can start an account here with SoFi, and it will translate to the continent.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're going to be able to access your money without getting these horrible ATM fees. So sometimes, like if you try to use like a Chase Bank or a Wells Fargo card and you try to take money out of the ATM, they'll charge you anywhere from $6 to $11 per ATM transaction. If
Wow.
you use SoFi, then it's free. You won't get any ATM fees. They get refunded to you.
Okay, great. That's good to know. What medical shots did you guys have to take before traveling to Tanzania?
Good
Mm,
question.
none.
Tanzania, we didn't take any. You don't have to take any if you're going to Tanzania, Seychelles, Mauritius, maybe, I don't even know if Senegal counts. There's only a handful of countries where you don't have to take the yellow fever. That was also a huge thing for us. Like, we didn't want to have to take any yellow fever. I know that there's like ways that you can, like if you're allergic to eggs, you can get yellow fever card and all these things. But that was a huge reason for us to choose Tanzania when we chose it. So you don't need any shots at all.
Okay. Looks like Eric has a follow-up question regarding the banking. That those banks allow retirement accounts. I assume he's going to have to contact SoFi and this Citibank and Discover to find out.
Yes, absolutely. I do know SoFi does have retirement accounts. They have IRAs and Roth IRAs and different investment accounts. I don't know about Discover and Citi.
Okay. Question from Why Miss came in late. Not sure if this was discussed. How is the healthcare system? We were talking about that before we came on. Is it cash or insurance options?
Most of the healthcare is cash. I know certain countries you can like get like an insurance plan, but usually it's mostly cash here in Africa, I would say.
Yeah, and it's way like it's insanely affordable. Like it's like mind-blowingly affordable. For example, when we were in Tanzania and I had to get ultrasounds when I was pregnant, the ultrasound would literally be $45.
Wow. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge difference because over here it's inflated.
Man.
It's inflated. All right. Let's see. Sister Tanara, yeah. What if you're disabled, have medical needs like meds, equipment, Medicaid, Medicare?
That's a really good question. If I were you, I would only go to these three countries: South Africa, Kenya, or Ghana. Those are the only ones I would go to because they just have more systems. Some of the other African countries, they're maybe 10, 15 years behind what you're used to in America.
All right. What is the major difference you notice from the U.S. to the continent?
I would say the
That's a
culture and
yeah,
people.
the
What would you
culture.
say?
Yeah, culture, peace. I don't know, just a peace of mind.
Yeah, the spirit about the people.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what it is.
yeah.
There's a certain level of aggression we have as Americans that you just don't find in Africa. And we're learning in other like Near Eastern countries because here in Southeastern Africa, you see a lot of people that are from India and China and all these different places. And it's like people are not as aggressive as Americans. Americans are extremely aggressive people.
America is the only place like America.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, somebody was just adding that U.S. Bank, they believe U.S. Bank is a worldwide bank. So we just wanted to throw that out there for people who wanted to investigate that further. Bantu Lisa says Stepping Stones to Home also shared how low the medical and dental costs were in Tanzania. Yeah, how is the dental same way? Cash, probably no insurance, relatively inexpensive.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, wonderful. So about consultants, are there business consultants on the continent? This is my question. That will advise you as to business opportunities or startups, things like that?
Yeah, for sure. It just depends what industry. Most of them, some may be African diaspora, then some are continental African people. I know they even have in Tanzania, they have like the actual Deloitte Big Four consulting company there. So it just depends on the industry.
Hmm. So have you looked into any of those business opportunities? Are there any that you recommend off the top of your head?
Mm,
I'd recommend looking at it from the standpoint of going to networking events because in Africa it's different. Everybody wants to meet in person. So like
Mm.
we're used to like, hey, I can book this call and I'll do a consultation. But Africans, they want to meet in person. If you try to do a Zoom session with them, they're just like, no, let's go talk in person.
Wow. That's the way business used to be done here in America.
I'm
Used
telling you,
a
it's like going
long,
back in time.
long time ago. A long time ago. I'm still that way. I still go out and meet my clients, shake their hand, look them in the face. That's just
Okay,
me. And they be like, "Oh, okay, all right, if that's what you want to do." But that's just the way I was brought up. Um, so as far as your top do's and don'ts for when you're in the continent, this is relating to like interacting with people because I've heard some people there's kind of a culture clash when the diaspora come to the continent. Top do's and don'ts when it comes to the interacting with people in their own cultures.
um, I, I,
The list is too long.
I'll say just this get out of the mindset of the Western way. Just don't be American, um, because that's America's the only place like that. So a lot of people will come to Africa, and it's just a little bit different. But you really have to blend in a way. So I would definitely say that. I'm not. I know it's a long list, but I would say that's the most important one. You have to
Yeah, I would
say.
say, yeah, it comes back to humility, right? The meek shall inherit the earth. Like, if you say you're of the truth, it should be showing because our
Hmm.
people get to Africa a lot, and we've seen this in person. Our people will cuss out waitresses. These are people that say they're Israelites. Cuss out waitresses. They mad at somebody because the Uber's late. They're just going off completely. And these are usually the same type of people, these same type of patterns. 6 months down the line, they're back in America. Most of the time because they just don't have patience. So in Africa, for example, all over Africa for the most part, if you order food at 12:30 and you sit down in the restaurant, you're probably not going to get the food till 1:30. But that's just naturally how it is. Like you just go in with that expectation because people do not move off of a consumerist, busy, 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 hurry, hurry, hurry capitalist mindset. They have this saying in Tanzania, Hamna Shida Hukuna Matana, like everything's good. And so when you come to them telling them, hey, you need to have my food done in 15 minutes, they're probably
Mm.
going to laugh in your face. And
Yeah,
then if you're in the flesh, you're going to be cussing them out. And it's like, just understand the culture before you come.
Mm.
exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that about the slower pace. They're not in a hurry. I'm in a hurry every day here in America. It feels like
Man,
I'm a hamster on the wheel. I'm
Man.
constantly going. Yeah, disappointment, that appointment. Oh, traffic is bad. Oh, there's an accident. Oh, got it. And it's stressful. So that's why I'm looking forward to getting to the continent, honestly. All right, so
Yes.
somebody has a question. What about the food? Do they got Church's chicken over there? Popeyes? let's,
That's
let's
so
talk
funny.
food. Let's go foodie for a minute.
Yes, yes. So the food is completely different. Unless you're in like South Africa, you may find like a McDonald's or Burger King, but you really shouldn't be wanting that
KFC.
anyway. Right,
Yeah.
right. You should be wanting the local food. Don't hop on the plane to Africa just to go eat McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So local food is the best. Like when we were in Tanzania, Tanzanian food, like you'll have some ugali, which is like fufu, mchicha, which is greens, and
Mhm.
samaki, which is fish. They do a lot of
Chapati.
stews in both West Africa and East Africa, chapati, like flatbread. You'll have a lot of different Indian curry dishes as well that are like fast food, but they're available. And so it's healthier. And then my
Mm,
ultimate favorite is Ethiopian food. I
Yes.
love Ethiopian food.
really,
Yes.
So
really.
good.
I've never had. That's the one cuisine I've never tried.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
you
so
have to.
good.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest try it.
Wow. And there's a few of them here in LA. So but I've
Yeah,
never stopped in. I don't do fast food. That gave that up a long time ago. But
for sure.
um, curry goat, some of my favorite stuff. I love curry goat. Uh, I'm interested. I'm anxious and eager to try the food over there.
Yeah, the food is great. It's delicious, Just the same precautions you would take in America, don't stop at every food truck. The places to make sure it's clean, like look at the folks' hands, look like how's this place look? Or, if it's a long line, that's a good sign. That means people are going there and they're not getting sick. But if it's a place that there's like no line, don't go there just because you want to be quick. Go to the places
Mhm.
that seem like, oh, people, this is reputable.
Yeah, we've got that here when we go down to Mexico. Montezuma's Revenge. And that's when you get the gastrointestinal disturbances from eating the local cuisine. So I've heard some people that went to the continent that say they experienced a similar effect, though. I don't know if
Yes.
it was because the food is so wholesome and we're just not getting our necessary nutrients from our preservatives and chemicals or what.
Right, right.
Mhm.
All right. Do you totally dress traditional there or have you abandoned your Western wardrobe?
That's a good question. A little bit of both. Honestly, a little bit of both. And it depends because even each country is different. So, like in Tanzania, they have Kitenge cloths, but in Ghana, they have different cloths. In Ethiopia, they have different cloths. And so it's different depending on which country you're in.
All right. Do you guys have your own car or do you utilize public transportation?
Right now, we use a private driver. In Tanzania, we had both a private driver and then we were at a point where we also bought a car. Yeah, so you have different options. We don't use public transportation too much just because it literally takes all day. Like you'll be on
Yeah.
public transport for maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
It just takes up too much time.
Yeah.
Well,
And our family is huge, so
Right,
that's
right. Yeah, that would look weird. If you
yeah,
like,
yeah. We talked about that too. I still say y'all slacking. You need to come on up, have a couple more. Yeah. My wife looked at me like I was insane when I told her I wanted 8. And
wow, wow.
she said, I want 2. And I said 8. And she said, okay, 4. And I said, no, 6. And she said, okay, okay.
that's some good negotiation.
Yeah, I had to start high, like you say. She gonna negotiate me down. She said, you're not the one going through all this pain and backache and can't sleep in a comfortable position. She gave me all of her reasons, and I put my foot down and said, no, I'm come from a big family. I want a big family.
That's good. That's good.
All right. Another question we've got here is it best to buy a car or buy a car there or ship a car from here?
Buy a car there or here.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Africa. Yeah, shipping. We can't tell you one good story. As many we've met hundreds of diaspora, dozens that have shipped cars, furniture. They all end up just with it goes back to the bureaucracy. One of the examples is, and we knew this before moving to Africa because we had watched a lady from Ghana tell us the same thing in a YouTube video. So we already knew going in, okay, so don't ship anything in because it may seem good. And then you get to the port and they're itemizing your stuff and you literally have to buy all your stuff back. On top of that, you have to pay multiple thousands of dollars. Now, this does not include the fees you would have already paid. This is the extra fee they want you to pay at the port just because they know you gonna want your stuff.
Mm, yeah, that's kind of like holding your stuff hostage.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Mm, yeah,
absolutely.
I think it would be cheaper to buy a car on the continent anyway. From my understanding, a lot of people on the continent are driving luxury cars here for the price of like a Ford or a Chevy and things like that. And
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, we
that's
bought
just
cars
what
with
I've heard.
Van.
yeah, a van. Yeah.
So I got another question. If I relocate, is it best to purchase my household items there, since shipping furniture, etc., shipment may be too expensive? I think this is along the same lines.
Yep, exactly. Purchase it here, and almost all those items are going to be more affordable.
All right, question from Bantu Lisa. Not that I plan on doing so, but are women prohibited from driving in certain countries?
No, not at all. Women are, they're driving as well. In Africa, they drive crazy though. They drive crazy. So you got to, man.
Crazier than the people in LA? That's hard to believe.
They my husband
Very
can
bold.
take that. It's very aggressive and it's weird because it's a slower lifestyle, but when it comes to
Right.
traffic, it's like the opposite. It's like the craziest thing, and you'll see like motorcycles going in and out, and it's just too much.
Wow. Okay, that's the question. Oh, she's saying that shipping his car cost him additional 5,000 USD. Wow.
Exactly, Bantu Lisa. That's along the lines of the stories we hear.
All right. Are there any good websites to look for homes for rent or for sale, or how did you find your home?
Yeah, so depending on the country, you can look up houses for rent in Ghana or for rent in Botswana or for rent in Namibia, and then a website will pop up. That's how we found our first home when we had first arrived in Tanzania. We actually looked on the website. It was, what was that website? Oh man, Zoom
Zoom.
Tanzania?
Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom Tanzania. And so we had saw the house and we got in contact with what they call a dalali, which is an agent in Swahili. And they showed us the house and then we got it 3 days later. So you can do it like that. Or, when you're already on the ground, let's say you book an Airbnb or a hotel, and then you ask if there's any agents nearby, real estate agents. Now, depending on the country, like I know South Africa and Kenya, for example, I think Ghana is the same way. They will actually have real estate firms and property management companies. Tanzania does not have this as much. So you have to kind of know someone who knows someone.
All right. Are the roads defined like in the US?
It really depends on which country. Or some countries are more developed than others. So it really depends on the country, but most of the country do have main roads that's good.
Yeah, especially in this city. Like if you're in Dar es Salaam, all the roads are good. When you start to go out of Dar es Salaam, if you're living on the outskirts, that's where you'll see dirt roads. South Africa, all their roads are pretty much paved. Like South Africa is very, very paved, built up, very, very much so. Rwanda, same thing. The cleanest country in Africa, very, very built up. Pavement everywhere. The roads are good. Ghana, Accra would have the roads that are good, but then if you go outside of Accra, if you go to smaller areas or smaller towns, then you will see the dirt roads.
All right. Is there a listing of viable businesses in the countries that you've lived? I heard some businesses are exclusive to locals.
That's a good question. I like that question because the businesses that are exclusive to locals, a lot of people don't realize coming over that just because you can start a certain business and let's say like you want to sell tools, how much are tools in Tanzania?
Cheap, and it's more used. They get like a lot of used stuff.
Yeah, so the amount of money you would be making is very, very, very small. That's why we always tell people you want to go in more of like a consultancy type of business so you can work with other businesses. Because when you're doing that e-commerce product to consumer, it's just not going to cover the cost of living.
Okay, let me see. We got another question. It says, can women drive professional trucks?
That's a good question. I've never really seen.
That's a good. I don't think I've seen women drive professional trucks either.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
might be a cultural thing too.
Yeah. That's a good question though.
Do you pay a year's rent up front or by the month?
Depends on where you are. So Ghana, they do 6 months to 12 months in advance. Sierra Leone, they do 12 months. Tanzania, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months in advance. South Africa and countries that are similar to South Africa, it's month by month.
All right, this one is kind of ambiguous. What laws are different? And sorry for all the questions.
No, the questions are good. Laws.
Probably every law. I think the main
Yeah.
law would be against LGBTQ.
Yeah, that's the best.
They don't play. They do not play. That would be like the main law that's different. Like they will literally, let me put it like this. Police in America are not the police that you have in Africa. The police in Africa are the community. And so like if somebody steals, they'll like catch the man and cut his hand off.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, they don't play.
They going back to the old covenant, chopping off hands, removing eyes.
They really do. Like we went to a hotel in southern Tanzania one time, and on the postcard it said no gay people allowed. Like they were gonna hunt you down, they were gonna turn you in, and you was gonna be locked up somewhere.
Yeah, if you're that, you have to go to the mountains and hide, like literally.
Yeah, seriously. That's what they do.
All right. Is the electricity or Wi-Fi really unstable?
If you're out of the city, maybe. But I mean, I can't even say that because we were in a small city in Tanzania and Tonga, and we had the best Wi-Fi reception we had been in Dar es Salaam. It really just depends on the city and country. In Southern Africa, it tends to be more stable, honestly. Both the electricity and Wi-Fi. This would also go with like how developed the country is. That's going to be an exact correlation. Ghana, they have regular outages. Dar es Salaam, they would have short outages, 15, 30 minutes. But if you're in the wrong neighborhood, we have heard people where it's like, hey, my power's been out for a whole day, or hey, my water's been out for a week. So it does help you to know which neighborhood to move in.
Yeah, I heard they had some electricity issues in Uganda. I knew a brother there. He was talking about we would be on the phone talking and his power would just go out. I would be like, if I didn't pay the bill, I expect that. But if I pay the bill, I want my electricity to stay on.
Oh man.
All right. Can you repeat the Airbnb, the lady's name and location? What was that? Exodus House. And you said that's Tanzania, right?
Yep. Exodus House, Tanzania.
All right. So that would be Exodus House, Tanzania. And she is on YouTube. So you can find her YouTube channel and she has contact information there.
Yes, indeed.
Where are the worst flood areas in Tanzania?
Ooh,
Ooh, where are the best areas to not get flooded? That's the better question.
yeah,
The mountains. I think you guys stayed in the mountains at a time, didn't you?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because flooding is a big issue in East Africa.
Mhm.
I think it's from like a structural engineering perspective. Just the way some of the cities are built isn't, I don't know,
It's not the
the
best. Yeah.
flooding gets very, very bad in some areas. So I would look for area. I would just do like simple, hey, I want to go live up on a hill. I know it's not going to get flooded if I'm on a hill. That's my
High to the mountain of the Most High.
yes, yes.
Is there opportunities to establish cell towers or companies that you can invest in that have that type of technology?
Yeah, for sure. It just depends on the country and what
Mhm.
their different investment incentives are. Almost every African country has some form of a Tanzania investment center, South Africa investment center, Ghana investment center.
What was the biggest culture shock since moving to the continent? Like, what is something that took you a while to adjust to?
Um, I would say just how friendly everybody is, especially with like children, because I know coming from America, we kind of stayed to ourselves, especially the neighborhood that we were in. We didn't want our children to play with a lot of other children, or it was that's I would say that's the biggest shock, because here they will literally take care of your child the whole day. If they go outside and they're going all day, you're like, where is my child? You go
Hmm.
down the street and they're good. They're playing football or soccer, um, with the whole community. So yeah, I would definitely say that's a big
So
culture shock.
a lot safer environment over there for your
Yeah,
children. That's
exactly.
good
Yeah.
to know. Good to know. Because I'm gonna try to get all my grandkids to come with me, and then their parents will follow.
Yes, yes. That would be awesome.
Uh, all right. What is the strongest Wi-Fi and best system to get to work from home there?
They pretty much have the same system as America. Well, it depends on which country, because I know a lot of countries is now starting to do 5G. So you kind of gotta know which area in the country also. So they're up to date pretty much.
I would say the best system to work from home. So Tanzania, it was Vodacom easily. They were the best if you want to get internet reception. But it really goes by country because Ghana, they have something called like MCN. They had each country is absolutely different.
Mhm.
So Vodacom, they have that in Kenya. I don't even know if they have that in South Africa. I think in South Africa they even have different ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, it varies by country.
but it's not like 2G or 3G. It's either 4G or 5G.
It ranges 3G to 5G. Yeah.
Yeah.
So isn't all that still prepaid? Because I heard that it was prepaid months ago. Is that still the way things work there?
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's all prepaid.
Mhm. All right, we've run down most of the questions that were in the chat. I'd like you guys to drop your YouTube, your Cash App, any contact information you'd like to share with the family, because this video is going to be up for those who view it later. I'd like to have that information available so they can get over to see what you guys got going on. And
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Yeah, let me put it in the chat.
All right. And do you guys offer any types of coaching or seminars or things like that that the people can get involved in?
So we do offer an e-course Dream Life Africa and Black Educators Amplify to help people start their consulting businesses so that
Hmm.
they can merge into Africa. But you can find all that information on our channel.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Vodacom, a private company or a government sponsored looking to invest in technology companies?
Are they
Okay,
private?
I think they're good.
I don't know. That's a
Yeah,
good
that's an
question.
excellent question. We're definitely not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, you probably
I
have to
don't know what's
contact.
private.
Yeah, he'd probably have to contact one of those consulting firms that you had mentioned, and they could seek that information out for him.
Exactly.
All right, fam. Are there any other questions that you guys would like to pepper our guests with, and and get all the information you can? Pick their brains. They're here and they're making themselves available to you. We thank them for sacrificing some of their time to share with us. But if you have some questions, let's get it in. We don't want to have them tied up all morning or afternoon for them, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes,
evening.
yes.
All right. So, are there any good plumbing companies to work for over in Africa?
I wouldn't say work for. I would say it's best to come with the mindset of, you know, being a manager or owning. So working for is just it's not going to cut your lifestyle. The pay is not going to cut your lifestyle.
Hmm. Yeah, we got to break out of that job mentality because they've always told me job stands for just over broke. And
Man.
Exactly.
yeah, so you've got to get some business concepts, ideas, witty inventions from the Most High, and
Yeah.
implement those things because that's how He's going to sustain us, not working for somebody else. Because then you're at the whim of those people. They can lay you off, fire you, cut your pay,
Precise.
all of the
Man.
above.
Retirement, everything. They're a hot mess.
All right, let me see. Got entrepreneur mindset is the way to go. Yes, it is. Says, do you guys have frequent power outages?
Of the country that we're in now, no. We haven't had to. What, maybe 5 minutes, and it cuts back
Yeah,
on.
it might be a power outage for 5 to 10 minutes once a month.
Not even really.
All right, it looks like our questions are slowing down. Do you guys have any parting wisdom you'd like to share with the family? And besides, some people are saying they're going to get over to your channel and binge watch, so that's good. That's a good thing. They can get a lot of information that way. That's how I stumble upon you guys.
Yeah. Do you want to give any advice? Yeah, I would say um, try to stay to yourself. As a diaspora, we like to do a lot of like community building and all these things. But a lot of times, a lot of confusion comes from doing that because you get so many different voices. And so, when you're making such a big move to move across the world, you really want to hear from the Most High and know right from left, know exactly where He wants you to be, where you need to invest, where you need to put your children in school. You really want to be clear on the actions you're taking. That's the best piece of advice I could give.
Yeah. With me, I guess going off that, just do it. Like, it just takes me back to the story of Joseph. When the Most High told him to do something, and in that split moment, he would do it. So we are definitely in a time of that. So you really have to be real in tune so you can do what the Most High called you to do.
Amen. Amen. That's excellent advice. Always follow the leading of the Ruach, of the Spirit of the Most High. You'll never get in trouble that way. Well, you may get in trouble, but it'll be good trouble. All
Right.
right. What about adult home care companies? Do they have that in Africa? Because I think they tend to keep their elderly at home in the house.
Right, right. You won't see that much in Africa at all. If you're going to see it anywhere, it may be in like South Africa. But older people are also way more healthy In
Mhm.
Africa, like when we say we've seen old people hiking up mountains,
Yeah,
and when
carrying
we say
sticks.
old, like gotta be late 60s, 70s, 80s, just like hiking up. Because think about it, a lot of these people are farmers. These people farm for a living. And so they're not necessarily retired from farming ever. They, until the day they die, they're going to be going out to get their food, to plant their food, to pull up the weeds. And that's going to be how it is. And so the sickness that you have in America, a lot of times with the older generation, just isn't something that you ordinarily see in Africa. And so there's not a need for those homes.
Yeah, and if you are like disabled and stuff, you're probably gonna stay with your child, and they're
Right,
gonna take care of you.
right.
Okay, how are the public school systems there in the continent or different countries?
Depends what country. In Tanzania, our children went to private schools. Public schools are usually not going to be in English, like 10 times out of 10, not going to be in English. Unless you just want your child to learn the new language super, super quick, you're probably going to want to do a private school. Now, a private school doesn't mean it has to be an international school because there is a difference. International schools can be pricey, but just do like a regular, either Tanzanian, Kenyan, South African private school.
All right, what a question about single women. I assume that she's talking about, is it safe there? Is it welcoming? That's about all I can say about that question. You can, but you guys are married, so I don't know if you know single people there and how they're faring.
Absolutely, yeah. We have met a handful of single people. Some actually end up getting married to different African people. It's safe as long as you treat people how you want to be treated. I'll put it like that because Africa is not the place you come to. And just like the same story I was telling earlier with like restaurants, a lot of our people we don't think we come across as rude, but we come across as very offensive a lot of times, and people just don't take to that.
Yeah, this is a question along the same lines. Say for a single woman to relocate alone or with young children.
Yeah, absolutely. And we even know multiple single people who have children. For example, one is actually in Africa. She was in Tanzania. She's also been on the continent for 4 years. Single woman moved from Atlanta to Tanzania, then Tanzania to South Africa with her two girls. She has been safe, prosperous, but again, she's low key. She's introverted like us. She's not like out in a, it's really just really following modesty. If you're in a spirit of following modesty, then most of the time you're going to be protected.
All right. Are there any real estates that I can invest in Tanzania or Ghana? And we covered this a little bit earlier, yes, but you could just do a quick recap if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. There are like so many real estate opportunities in Ghana. Like, you have beach property, you have village property, you have river property, you have property in Accra, like the main city. Tanzania is the same thing. You have property in Zanzibar, you have property in Dar es Salaam, you have property in Tonga, all over.
All right. Are there daycare centers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are more daycare centers in Africa
Yeah,
than America for sure.
and
Just
then
because
merge
the
with schools.
population, yes, sometimes they're merged with schools. Just because the population here, there's a statistic that 65% of Africa's population is under 25. So there's like a huge population increase that's just happened in the last 2 decades.
All right. That looks like the last question we had. I'm going to refer them over to your channel if they have additional questions to, follow up. I'm sure that, some people will come in and see this late and want to have some questions answered. And you might want to start charging a consultant fee.
Right, right. Too many questions.
So it's going to be like, oh, they sent me 100 questions and I'm just going to sit here all day. And no.
Right, right.
But we appreciate the time that you've given to us today. And thank you guys for sacrificing, your family time, your business time to come on our show and share with the family. like I said, they'll have the link to get over to your channel, and I'll be over there watching myself because I'm still picking up little bits and pieces of information I need to make my move, successful. And I'm looking forward to getting with the family once we get on the continent, meeting everybody face to face.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. You guys,
Mhm.
it was an honor.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Thank you guys again for coming on. And family, remember, get over to their channel, show them some love, send them a Cash App, PayPal, whatever. Just bless on them, subscribe to the channel, like the channel, show some love to the family, and keep boosting them up. Amen. Before the Most High. All right.
Amen.
This journey. Thank you. Much love to you, fam.
Thank you.
Shalom,
You also.
shalom.